so I'm going to do another requested video today, and I'm really hoping this video is going to help quite a lot of people out there, because I know that lots of people have just done their GCSEs and now they've gone on to A-levels, and it's like a massive shock when you get to A-levels because it's not the same as GCSEs. And if you're one of those people that like breezed through your GCSEs without much effort, let me tell you, A-levels is not the same thing. So A-levels are much more crucial to you getting into your university and doing the degree that you want to do. So when you start from the beginning and you start your A-levels and it's a big shock and you're like, oh my god, I've got all this work to do, I've got 4 subjects and it's just so stressful, there's too much information, I don't understand it. Basically, let me give you some tips on how to deal with your A-levels, and hopefully you should like breeze through it after this. So tip number 1 is just to get yourself organised right from the beginning. So you're only kind of 3 months into your A-levels or your AS levels at the moment, so you've still got time. If you're not doing this already, you've still got time to kind of get yourself organised. So what I mean by get yourself organised is have a folder for each subject, have like a big fat ring binder for each subject. Every time you go to a lecture or every time you go to a lesson and you get notes or you get given notes or you handwrite notes, make sure that everything goes into the right order. So start from the beginning with like the easier stuff that you do, and as the folder goes on it should kind of get more and more difficult. So when you get to your A-level revision, everything's in the right order. That way you've got all your notes in one place, and you know that when it comes to revision all you should need is that folder and maybe a couple of textbooks if you need to use textbooks as well. Make sure the other thing is you like attend all of your lessons, because if you don't attend your lessons, like you're just going to miss everything. You're going to miss your chance to understand what the teacher's saying, you're going to miss your chance to ask questions, you're going to miss the chance to do like examples of like what the teacher's trying to teach you. So they always teach you something and then they get you to do examples afterwards. You're going to miss out on all of that if you don't attend your lessons. So if you're one of these people that's like sick all the time, if you're one of those people that just doesn't really pay any attention in lessons, like it's going to be really hard for you to catch up. So if you're sick, make sure you catch up on your notes, get your friend's notes or something, or go in and ask the teacher, so that at least when it comes to revision you haven't got that big blank like, oh my god, what was I supposed to learn from this lesson? What I kind of did as a set rule when I found that A-levels was quite tricky to start with is I started going through the week before lessons, the week after, so I was always kind of reiterating everything that I'd just gone through. So if you're doing homework for week 2, you've done your homework for week 2, go back into your folder and look through week 1's notes and just make sure that you understand that. I'm not saying like revise it, but just go through the notes and make sure you understand it. If there's anything that you don't understand, you can go back to the teacher and ask them to explain it to you. So when it comes to revision, you're not stuck with all these lessons that you don't understand. And it kind of helps you when it gets to revision, because you kind of think, well, I understood this when I was going through it before, so it's not just such a big shock of stuff for you to intake when you get nearer the time for your revision, because that's really horrible, is not understanding the work all the way through and then getting right to the end of the year and trying to understand everything and trying to remember everything all in one go. So it's really important that you learn things in chunks and learn as you go, rather than kind of waiting right till the end of the year and then trying to understand everything, because that is just going to make it really, 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 really difficult. Obviously, the thing is, starting your revision early is absolutely essential. So if you give yourself 2 days before the exam to understand the whole of biology AS, you are not going to pass. Like, that's just basically how it is. You're just not going to pass. So if you give yourself a good month, I mean, I think study leave starts like a month before your exams or something, or like 3 weeks before your exams. That is plenty of time for you to break down 3 or 4 subjects and split it evenly between like days. But the only way that you're gonna be able to revise properly is if you have a timetable. So you know that in biology you've got 10 modules to get through, so split that 10 modules into like 3 weeks and do 3, maybe 4 modules each week depending on your workload of other subjects. Do the same thing for every subject, so make sure you split your day, but stick to your timetable. If you don't stick to your timetable, you're going to get to the end, of your biology folder, and you're going to realise that it's the hard stuff you don't understand because you got right to the end. The other thing is, if you know that you understand the beginning stuff really, really easily, don't keep writing notes on the easy stuff. Move on to the harder stuff, the stuff that's going to take you a little bit of time to get your grasps on, and just make sure you spend more time on the stuff that you don't understand. So we kind of spend a long time going through the notes from the beginning and going, oh, this is easy, this is fun, let's make lots of notes, let's highlight everything and circle everything and write little notes and post-it notes everywhere. You already know that stuff. Like, that's the easy stuff you should have picked up on at the beginning. That's the stuff that you should already know. So don't spend a lot of time on stuff that you know. Move on to something that you find a little bit harder. And this is where like you kind of don't want to move on to it and you start procrastinating a little bit because you're like, I don't understand it, so let's just put it off and do something else. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. I always used to think of like the worst case scenario in like my university stuff exams and other exams. The hardest thing that I could understand is the thing that always made me just go, okay, I'll leave that till later. I need a bit more time to understand that. I'll give myself a break first and then I'll go and learn that lecture. In my head, I started training myself to think, what if I have a 15-mark essay on this topic and I don't know anything about it? And that would suddenly force me to go through the notes and force me to start picking things up. I always find it easier to revise with a friend. So if you've got somebody that understands stuff and you've got something that you understand that they don't get, revise together and just go, oh, do you get that? Can you explain that to me? And that is honestly one of the best ways of studying, because you're both in the same situation. You'll remember stuff because you'll be laughing about it afterwards, and you will remember stuff if you revise with somebody else and they can explain it to you in a different way. The other thing is your teacher is there for you to go and ask them. Like, they don't want you to all get bad results because it makes them look bad. So if you've got a teacher that's quite helpful, then just go and ask them to just spend a few minutes with you at lunchtime just going through something, because A-levels are completely different to GCSEs. Like I said, you might have breezed past one, but it doesn't mean you're going to breeze past the other one, because they're not easy. And that's why you only have 4 subjects or 3 subjects depending on what you're doing. I used to kind of panic a little bit and think, if I don't get my A-level grades, I'm not going to get into university. And that used to panic me because the degree that I'd picked was really specific. I could not be an optician without going to university, and the grade expectations were really, really high for optometry, and now they've gone up even higher. So now you have to study even like more, and you have to be even smarter now. Okay, just think, if you don't study and you don't start learning your stuff now, then you are not going to get into university and you're going to have to pick like a completely different career. And so education at A-levels is absolutely key for getting into the degree that you want to do. Some people choose degrees where they don't really need to do A-levels and they can do other things to get in, but some degrees are very, very specific to what A-level grades you need. So you really, really need to kind of just sit down and get on with your work. But don't compare A-levels to GCSEs, because honestly it's like completely different ballgame. And you just need to make sure you've got the time to study, and you need to be prepared to go back and ask your teachers. Ask questions in school classes as well, like ask questions at college. Ask questions after your lecture. If you're going through your notes and you're too shy to ask in front of your whole class, wait till the class finishes and then go up to the teacher and say, do you know what, I really understand this bit, but when you got here I started getting a little bit lost. They're not going to not help you. Honestly, they're not going to not help you, because if they do, they're going to get bad results, and like I said, it's going to make them look really, really bad. So just ask your teacher, like that is what they're there to do. They don't expect everybody to get everything that they're saying all in one lesson. And if you're one of those people that asks lots of questions, the chances are you're going to do much better in the exams than everyone else, because people that don't ask questions generally don't always do that well. In just from observation point of view, they don't. So yeah, just ask lots of questions and ask the teachers to go through stuff with you. Use your textbooks. If there's something you don't understand, then that's what your textbooks are for. They go through everything, and ideally the teacher should just be reiterating everything that's in the textbook. So go home, read your textbooks, and you know, stuff might come to you, and do the examples in your textbook again, because again, it's just going to help you reiterate things. So when you get to the end of the year and you're revising, it's not all new stuff. That's the worst thing that could happen, is that you don't understand your A-level like subject all the way through, and then you get right to the end of the year and you're like, oh my god, I don't understand any of this, and you've got a whole 1 week to revise a whole year's worth of A-level stuff. So please make sure you learn stuff as you go along, otherwise it's absolutely impossible to like learn anything. I've done a video very similar to this. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was something along the lines of how to study for an exam, where I go through very, very similar things. But A-levels, you just need to be that little bit more organised, because remember, when you go to university, it's all kind of your own stuff. You haven't got teachers, you haven't got anyone telling you to do the work. You've just got to do it, and if you don't do it, basically you're just like buggered. So just study really hard. Just study. As like an employer, I do look at A-level and GCSE results when looking at a CV. I don't know if everyone does, but it generally tells me a little bit about the discipline for that person. So they did really well. I know they kind of disciplined themselves to do that well. I mean, you don't get really good A-level and GCSE results for being a dumbo. Like you get it as a result of being disciplined and studying and being organised. So I do tend to look at that. So if I look at it, I'm assuming other potential employers would look at your GCSEs and A-level results. Even if it's not relevant to what you're doing, it tells me a lot about the discipline. I hope this was helpful. This was actually requested by Bhakti Patel, so thank you so much for asking me to do this video, or I think she asked for some advice and then I suggested a video because actually I think it might hopefully help a few people. But if you found this useful and you have any other requests for me, then please let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video.